Hey guys, what is up? Froggy Fresh G here, and today I'm going to be talking about the new TF2 patch notes. They're not really new, they came out a few days ago, but I decided I'd still go over them anyway. Now, there are a fuck ton of weapon changes. That's all they are, it's just weapon changes, but there are a fuck ton of them. And I decided for the sake of not making this video like half an hour, I just go over the weapons that I find most people use, or the more commonly used weapons, so or very big changes, I guess. But yeah, let's hop right into this. So before we do, I want to say this is all a work in progress. None of this has actually been implemented into the game as of right now. Valve is kind of doing this and proposing it to the community, which I think is a very good update method here, where you can just sort of show the community what they can expect and see if they like it or not. So I hope to see this approach from Valve in the future, and let's get started. So the first weapon we're going to be going over here is the Ambassador. So basically, in a nutshell, Valve is complaining that people sit in the back and use the Ambassador as a sniper rifle and just headshot people. Their changes they made to implement this are the first shots are no longer perfectly accurate, so I guess this basically makes it harder to land at long range because the first shot's no longer perfectly accurate. Bullet spread is instead reduced by 50%, which would make headshots a little bit harder at long range while still very viable at close range. I don't see how reducing bullet spread would make it viable or more viable at medium to close range, but somehow Valve thinks that, and maybe I'm just thinking of it wrong or reading it wrong. If I am, let me know in the comments, but I think that Valve is kind of right, where people sit in the back as spy and use the Ambassador. It's not really the kind of intended playstyle for the spy, but in the end, if you're going to be sitting in the back and using the Ambassador as a sniper rifle, you probably have to be very good, because hitting headshots with the Ambassador on its own is very hard, and hitting them at long range is even harder. So I kind of see where they're coming from, but I think they've kind of implemented the changes wrong here. In the end, the Ambassador is probably one of the most balanced weapons in TF2. It rewards you for getting headshots and penalizes you for getting body shots, so I don't think these changes are necessary. So the next weapon up on our list here is the Dead Ringer, and in a nutshell, Valve is basically saying you can feign too much over and over again simply by running over ammo kits and going near dispensers, and this is kind of making the weapon a little bit boring and repetitive. So what they've done here is they've basically made it unable to replenish its cloak from dispensers and ammo kits. Now, I think this is a pretty bad change, because as a spy, you should be flanking and being behind the enemy lines, where you generally will find dispensers and falling down weapons for ammo, and this encourages sort of a spy flank route play, which is how I think spy is supposed to be played. So I think this is kind of annoying for spy mains, because the Dead Ringer is probably arguably the best Invis-Watch that you can use, and having it nerfed to this kind of degree is pretty annoying for them. So I'd say this change is a little bit unnecessary. Yeah, feigning kind of gets redundant over and over again, but if you can really focus down a spy who can cloak over and over again, they're pretty easy to kill. So overall, I don't think this is a very necessary change. Coming in at number 3 on our list here is the Your Eternal Reward, and just based on reading remove the cannot disguise penalty, it looks like they've redone the weapon entirely, but if you look deeper into it here, it just kind of changes the weapon up a little bit. So basically, Valve's beef with this weapon is that the downside far outweighs the upside of this weapon. So basically, they made it you can disguise, but now on the basis that that will use up all of your cloak meter. You can still get the backstab to disguise thing with the Your Eternal Reward, which is great, because that was really the bread and butter of the weapon, and it was enabled you to go on those crazy chain stabs where you just get the whole entire enemy team and they'd have no idea what just hit them. So yeah, overall I think the Your Eternal Reward is still definitely a very viable knife, and I don't think it's breaking the weapon in any way, shape, or form. Maybe I don't think that because I don't main spy, I don't play very much spy, but if anyone does, let me know what you think. But I don't think this is really changing the weapon too much. I think it kind of is a buff in some sort of way, because you can still get that initial disguise you need to get on the chain stabs, and that's what kind of the hardest thing of the Your Eternal Reward was getting that first disguise. But once you're on that, you're kind of on a roll. So yeah, I think the Your Eternal Reward is overall a very good knife and still a very good pick, even with these changes into consideration. Now for this next one here, I'm just going to be going over both at once because they're both for the same class, there's only 2 of them. So first off is the Darwin's Danger Shield here. So Valve basically felt that snipers who weren't using the Danger Shield had a disadvantage over snipers who were. This is because, you know, when you get headshot with the Danger Shield, you basically have a second life, and you have to get, you have like that time to go to a med kit or go to a respawn and just get all your health back and you go up again. So their goal here was basically remove the survivability against enemy snipers, while still maintaining survivability against other classes. So basically, it looks here, this thing's a giant fuck you to all pyros, because it looks like it's just afterburn immunity is one thing and 50% fire resistance. So it looks like you can't afterburn with this. I don't think that's fair, because the only way for a pyro to kill a sniper is kind of afterburnish, Like, especially if you're doing a flare gun thing without rushing them, you kind of have to flare them across the map. Then the flare gun relies on a crit on someone who's burning, but if they're not burning, you can't crit them. So I feel like the flare gun is just going to be kind of poking them with a stick at this point. So I don't think the afterburn immunity is fair. I think the best way to balance the danger shield would just be have them one-hit headshot from the ambassador and the sniper rifle and just keep it as it is. I think that's just the best way to balance the danger shield. They kind of did a few things with it. I agree with their sort of thinking about this weapon, but I don't agree with how they've kind of executed it here. So that's the danger shield. Next, the Razorback here. The goal was to reduce the effectiveness of snipers who are basically being pocketed in competitive. So in competitive, if there was like a good sniper or something like that who was being pocketed with a medigun, they were basically invincible to take out because their aim is so accurate and they could just shut down pretty much everyone. And the only way to shut down a sniper like that is pretty much a spy, but the Razorback just kind of neglects that. So what they basically made it here is snipers using the Razorback can't be overhealed, and the shield regenerate thing got nerfed a little bit. I think I don't know what the old one was, but now it's 30 seconds, and that feels longer than what it currently is. Overall, I don't think this is too bad of a change. I feel like this is too situational here. The whole pocketed sniper and competitive, maybe, I don't even want to say in the high ranks, because every rank just gets mixed into one thing in TF2 competitive. But I feel like overall, this change wasn't really necessary or needed. I don't think the whole pocketed sniper thing is too big of a deal. So overall, I don't feel this change is necessary, but I don't really think this is going to change the weapon in extreme ways. Now, I don't really understand this next one too much, which is the Crusader's Crossbow here. So it's basically talking about how bolt healing, I never knew this could build Uber, but just reading this it implies it can, I guess. How bolt healing it does significantly out-heal the medigun here, and it's a great way to build Uber. So basically they just, I guess, nerfed the Uber building rate with the Crusader's Crossbow. Everything I could be saying here could be wrong if I read this wrong, but it looks here like they're nerfing the way it builds Uber. Personally, I don't think that's a good change if I am reading it right, because the Crusader's Crossbow is a high-risk, high-reward weapon. If someone's in combat and you shoot an arrow at them and you miss, your next sort of best option is to go to the medigun, but then you've wasted a lot of time switching weapons and they're probably already dead by then, so it's kind of high risk, high reward. So I feel you should be rewarded by having skill, and the Crusader's Crossbow is something that takes skill. I don't know why Valve keeps changing weapons that have a good high skill ceiling and reward you for being good. I don't feel that's really something Valve should be doing, but it kind of promotes a playstyle of noobiness, to say the least. I don't really like using that term, but it's kind of what it promotes here, and I don't think that's very good. But yeah, the Crusader's Crossbow here, I don't really agree with these nerfs, but it's not going to deem the weapon unusable. So the final item on our list here is going to be the Rescue Ranger. Now, Valve's beef with this is basically the ability to repair buildings and move them from a safe distance is kind of overpowered. So basically, now they change the Rescue Ranger into essentially a long-range wrench here. It costs metal to repair buildings with the Rescue Ranger here at a 4-to-1 health to metal ratio. So there's kind of an example of it there. So every damage you repair, divide that by 4, and that's how much metal you're going to use. So I think that's a fair nerf. The Rescue Ranger wasn't really broken, but I feel this is kind of a fix that it could use. But I don't think it's going to break the weapon. It's still going to deem it usable. Yes, this is definitely a nerf. I wouldn't mind if the Rescue Ranger stayed either way. However, I feel for some engineer mains this may be an issue for them. But overall, I don't think it's going to deem this weapon completely useless. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Please let me know what you guys think of these changes and which ones you agree with and disagree with. Just leave a comment below. Subscribe and like if you want to. And I'm Froggy Fresh Chew, and I'm out.